Hello and welcome, Pokemon fans. There are those who call me Bard Breaker, and it's time for another spooky October Pokemon run. Last week we played through Pokemon Soul Silver with just a Spiritomb, and that was actually a pretty interesting foray into the spooky realm of Pokemon, as we had a pretty easy time for most of the run and it got really difficult right at the end. So let's go ahead and jump back a gen and take a weaker ghost out for a spin this time. Today we're going to ask and answer the question, can I beat Pokemon Fire Red using just a Misdreavus? Misdreavus was the lone ghost Pokemon introduced back in Generation 2. We don't have the worst stats of all time though. Our 435 puts us on par with Pokemon like Eevee, Tangela, and Wigglytuff. We have decent special attack and defense and speed. HP, attack, and defense all come in at a passable 60. Moveset wise though, we don't have a lot to go on. We start with just Growl and Psywave, a borderline useless move that inflicts a semi-random amount of damage, which is basically going to be between 1 and our current level, give or take. We do learn Astonish at level 11, but that'll be our only attacking move until we get Psybeam all the way at level 30. That's a decent move, but it isn't going to give us the same type attack bonus, and level 30 is an awfully long way away from the start. And that's about it for leveling up. Our TM move pool gives us a bit more type coverage and some possible moves. Shadow Ball is a great move, but ghost types are physical in Gen 3, for some reason, so despite the raw power and stab, it may not actually be where we want to go. We'll have to see. We may be better served choosing something like Thunderbolt or Psychic for our main moves. But at this point, I get to remind you guys that I write the script as I go through with a challenge, so at this point I haven't started playing the game yet. Everyone take your guesses down below to please the almighty algorithm, god of the YouTube algorithm, and let me know if you think I can do this or not. I'm gonna say it may be possible, though our level up moves are brutal and our TM moves don't get a whole lot better. We may definitely need to overlevel a lot for this given our options. Finally, before we begin, let's take a final look at our rules. In battle, I can only use Misdreavus. I'll need other Pokemon for HMs, but I won't be allowed to use those utility Pokemon in battle. I also will not be using any items in battle. Held items and items outside of battle will be allowed, and I lastly won't be using any cheats, glitches, or exploits, so let's begin. So I start the run out having replaced Squirtle with Misdreavus using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer. This way we can do our entire run with it. This way our rival will still take Bulbasaur, which I believe will give us the hardest Pokemon to fight against by the end of the run, given what I plan to have as a moveset. I nickname ours Toby, after what I'm told is the name of the ghost in Paranormal Activity. I didn't even know it had a name. On our way out of the lab, we're accosted by our rival Tim, but it's actually an easy fight. At this point, his Bulbasaur doesn't know anything other than Tackle and Growl, and since Tackle can't hurt us at all it can do is growl at us, so we're free to use Psywave and take it down. We're not going to be able to rely on Psywave forever, but it gets us through the opening battle. So before we get to Brock, we have to grind, and there's no way we can beat him with just Psywave. We're probably going to need Astonish in a few levels. You can see the problem with Psywave right here, in fact, against this Weedle. Not only does it miss from time to time, but the damage is not consistent. You can see that our first hit barely does anything, but our next does at least a third or more, so we're going to have to make every shot count. Not that we have any way to make it do more damage, but we can at least spiritually hope for better damage. After grinding our way up to level 14, I decided to go ahead and try Brock just to see where we stand. Geodude actually can't hurt us since it only knows Tackle and Defense Curl, so we take our time with it. Onix is next, and it can hurt us with Rock Tomb, which it'll default to since it's the only move that can hit us. But amazingly, our Psywaves do enough damage to bring it down in a couple of hits, and much to my amazement, we've managed to beat Brock on just our first attempt. We didn't even have to do any excessive grinding or overleveling, we're at Brock's level. I didn't expect that with this moveset, but hey, I'm gonna take it. On our way out of Pewter City, I actually remember that I didn't check our nature earlier, so I stop and check and find that we have a quiet nature, so we end up with more special attack at the expense of speed. That may be interesting. Ghost is physical in Gen 3, but we do have access to some good special attack TMs that we'll need later. Our ability is Levitate, which will make us immune from ground attacks. That's nice, no earthquake at least. Just outside of Mount Moon, I stop and catch a Spearow for Fly later, nicknaming it Flapsity the 31st, long may he fly, and head on into Mount Moon where I soon catch a Geodude for Strength later, nicknaming it Bicepticus the 31st, long may she lift, as well as a Clefairy for Flash later, nicknaming it Flashelius the 31st, long may she shine, and after taking the Helix fossil along our way, better ask me anyway to make sure though, I make my way into Cerulean City where we have two options, Gym or Rival. And after losing to Misty several times in a row thanks to the Starmie and its Water Pulse, I decide to go for the rival instead. And it does take a couple attempts to get straight, but I do eventually get a run where we only get sand attacked once from the Pidgeotto. The Abra goes down to an Astonish. We can fuse the Bulbasaur before bringing it down with Psywaves. Last out is the Rattata, but it doesn't really have much of anything to do to us, so we bring it down easily enough, and there we can proceed north up Nugget Bridge. After fighting our way north past Nugget Bridge, we get our way into Bill's house, where we have to give him a quick shave in the Depokulator to get ourselves the SS ticket and return. After that, we head back to Misty and try her again. And at this point, she's not very difficult. We're strong enough now to one-shot the Staryu with a secret power, and her Starmie is a bit bulkier, but we can do more damage with Astonish, so I swap to that, and after seeing it recover and get super potioned, I astonish it down and make some decent sushi if I do say so myself. Along my way south out of Cerulean City, I spend a bit of time catching up the 5 Meowth members of the Kleptosius gang for their Pickup ability. Pickup is an ability where after every Pokemon we knock out, each Pokemon with Pickup has a 10% chance to pick up and hold an item. It isn't as magnificent in Leaf Green and Fire Red as it is in other games, since it mostly focuses on berries, but it does have a low chance to pick up good items such as rare candy, nuggets, and the TM for Hidden Power. Saying of which, while rounding up the gang, I actually already found that I had the TM for Hidden Power from one of those pickups, so we go around and try to figure out the type. I know a lot of you like to guess what our type is, so here's your chance. On our first encounter against Meowth results in a neutral outcome, so that doesn't do much, but it does eliminate Ghost and Fighting. We get another neutral result against an Oddish, which eliminates a big chunk with Electric, Grass, Water, Fire, Ice, Flying, and Psychic now off the table. Another neutral result against a Spearow now also removes Bug, Ground, and Rock from play. Yet another neutral result on an Abra will take Dark off the table, and then we can also remove Poison after we get another neutral result on Kakuna. That just leaves us with Steel and Dragon. Finally, after making our way to Vermilion City and getting the Old Rod to fish up a Magikarp, we get another neutral result and we can eliminate Steel, which leaves us with the Dragon Hidden Power. Well, that was certainly an adventure, but hey, that's great to know for Lance later. Make my way to the SSN, and after clearing out everything and everyone of value, I take on our rival Tim once again. I don't quite one-shot the Pidgeotto, so it does get off a Sand Attack, but after that, we don't have a lot of issues. Kadabra goes down to a Secret Power, Bulbasaur to a Psybeam, and the Raticate is honestly the most annoying, not because of anything it knows, but because of how many times we miss Psybeam. I missed like 5 or 6 times. Thankfully, once we did hit it, it landed for a crit to end the fight. Finally, after massaging the Sea Captain for what felt like forever, we get our prize of the HM for Cut, and we head to Lieutenant Surge's Electric Gym. Well, first I wrangle up an Oddish for Cut, nicknaming it Snipticus the 31st, long may she cut, and then I can proceed to the gym. And after taking 5 attempts to figure out his damn trash can jamboree, I can finally battle Surge, who isn't much of a challenge. Only his Raichu really poses any threat, but even despite being paralyzed, it just goes for double team. So we break through our paralysis and bring him down for the win. Afterwards, I go round up a few more Pokemon for the box collection so that I can get the HM for Flash to move through Rock Tunnel. I don't really need it to see, but I like it makes the game easier. After coming out the other side, I make a beeline for Celadon City. Here I can get the Lemonades from the Pokemart, and those are more cost efficient for healing purposes. I can also buy the TM for Shadow Ball from the Game Corner without having to do any BS like Voltorb Flip. I could just sell our useless items and TMs for coins. Next I decide to go to the Grass Gym, and it's an easy sweep with Psybeam. We got a Secret Power mixed in there against the Tangela, but after the Grass Gym we go clear out Team Rocket Hideout. And there's nothing of interest here either, and that includes Giovanni. I bring down the Onix and Rhyhorn with a Psybeam each, and though his Kangaskhan takes 3, even his bites don't serve as much of a deterrent. We're honestly a bit over-leveled here, but I really haven't been fighting anyone out of the way. It's just quite easy to get to a high level when you only have one Pokemon doing all your fighting. I collect the Sylph Scope for my trouble and immediately return to Lavender Town to clear out the spooktacular Pokemon Tower, where we immediately crush Tower Tim in about 5 seconds. How adorable that he thinks he's actually a problem. Yeah, I may regret that in a bit. In any event, we battle our way to the top of the tower and rescue Mr. Fuji. He gives us the magic Pokeflute to wake up the sentient sleeping bag in Snorlax. I decide to skip almost all of Cycling Road and make my way straight to Fuchsia City. I have the type advantage with Psybeam as well as a level advantage, so to no one's great surprise, we're easily able to defeat Koga. His Muk survived but wasted its turn using Acid Armor, and his Weezing got off a weak Sludge and was healed, but another gym down, another badge in the book. From there, I pick up our obligatory groceries from the Safari Zone and then head back to Saffron City. I skip virtually every trainer in Silphco to try and make up some of that level gap and head on to Rival Fivel. Pidgeot is out first and gets off a wing attack and it goes down in 2 Psybeams. Gyarados goes down in a couple more after chunking our attack with Intimidate. Growlithe comes out and intimidates us again but goes down to a couple more Psybeams. Alakazam, despite our 2 attack drops from Intimidate, still goes down to the Singo Shadow Ball. Remember again, Ghost is still physical in Gen 3. Finally, Venusaur is last, and it just sets off a sweet scent as it goes down to 2 Psybeams. Having beaten Rival Fivel, we set our sights against Giovanni. Nothing really puts up too much of an obstacle, though the Kangaskhan does require 3 secret powers to bring down. Even though I do have the type advantage with Psybeam, our super effective attacks just don't one-shot his team yet. This would definitely help if we could get the same type attack bonus off Psybeam. That being said, we may also have a bit more of an obstacle with him in Viridian City, but we're going to see what happens later. After defeating Giovanni, I need something for Surf, so I pick up the free Lapras from the Costco sample cart, nicknaming it Aquadies the 30th, long may she swim, and then swim our way down to Cinnabar Island. After slinking our way through the Pokemon Mansion and finding the key, why are so many keys just dropped on the ground in these games? We set our sights on Blaine at the Fire Gym. And to be honest, he takes a few tries. Eventually we get a run where we get lucky with our confusion statuses. Whether it's from Confuse Ray or Psybeam's secondary effect, we got some great luck here. I confused the Growlithe and actually managed to knock it out with a Shadow Ball despite its Intimidate. Arcanine comes out and immediately intimidates us again, but we confuse it as well and start chipping it away with Psybeams. Once we bring it down, we Psybeam the Ponyta and confuse it, and it goes down to another Psybeam. Lastly, we get a crit on the Rapidash and a lucky confusion and it hits itself and goes down. Well, after several failed attempts thanks to burns, we managed some excellent status conditions of our own, and some confusion luck gives us the Volcano badge. I will take it. And at this point I actually remember I haven't beaten Sabrina yet, so I fly back to Saffron City where we one-shot our way through her entire team with Shadow Ball. Nothing to report. Following that, it's time for Giovanni though at the ground gym, and he's actually not a major problem at all. I was worried that he'd be a little stronger and might be a little more difficult, but no, we one-shot everything except Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen barely survived too, and it hangs on with just a sliver to fight back with a weak Poison Sting. I managed to avoid getting poison from it though, and after a bit of potion stalling, we're able to finally bring Giovanni down. And with that, we have all 8 of our badges in hand and are ready to proceed on to the Elite Four. But before we do that, we have one last rival fight to try outside of Iridian City. And to a bit of my surprise, it goes surprisingly well. We take 2 wing attacks from the Pidgeot before bringing it down in 3 Psybeams. From there, we one-shot the Rhyhorn and the Growlithe. Gyarados takes a few hits thanks to another Intimidate, but we're able to stall it out for time with our Confuse Ray for a bit of extra help. Alakazam, despite the 2 Intimidates, still goes down to Shadow Ball, and finally Venusaur goes down in a couple of Psybeams. There we go, we won our final rival fight before the Elite Four. Let's do this. After losing quickly to Lorelei on my first attempt, I go back in with Shockwave equipped, and I have a much better result. I do take a fair bit of damage and some PP stalling from the Cloyster, but eventually we make our way to Jinx, and its Psychic type makes it a perfect target for our Shadow Ball. Shockwave actually came in handy. Nice. Fighting Trainer Bruno is up next, and though we don't exactly walk all over him, we do emerge victorious. I actually took some major damage from the Hitmonlee, which brought the fight into a much closer range than I expected to going in with our type advantage. But even still, Bruno didn't prove much of an obstacle. Agatha, the old Ghost Biddy, is up next, but again, isn't worth talking about. Gengar and Gengar go down to Shadow Balls each. I get a crit one-shot on the Golbat with Psybeam. Arbok does stall a bit with some Hyper Potions, but Psybeam and Secret Power bring it down. Last out is our Haunter, but it goes down to a Shadow Ball as well. And now we're 3/4 of the way through the Elite Four with only Lance left to go. And Lance proves to be darn near impossible at this level. I can deal with the Gyarados and Aerodactyl easily enough, but I just don't have enough health left to deal with the Dragonite. Let's try leveling up. So I go ahead and use my 6 rare candy to boost my level up to level 77, and here we have much better luck. Gyarados is still going down in 1 Shockwave. We outspeed the Aerodactyl now and hit hard with Shockwave, and it fires back, but leaves us in good shape, and we bring it down with another. Dragonite is out next, and we hit it for a bit under half of its health with our Dragon-type Hidden Power, and it sets up a safeguard. Our next Hidden Power crits and finishes it off. We're able to one-shot the next 2 Dragonairs with Hidden Powers, and we finish the fight. Well, that went a lot easier with a few extra levels. Didn't expect it to go that easily. But we still have one last fight between us and completion of the challenge, so let's give our final rival fight a go. And oh boy, does this not go very well. As you can see from the montage here, we fail over and over and over again with the champion. Sometimes we get a burn from the Flamethrower, sometimes we miss a lot of attacks thanks to a single sand attack from Pidgeot, but we try over and over and just lose, and lose. And I honestly foolishly didn't pick up any items that could really help me here at the end. We have no damage boosting items or Quick Claw or anything like that to help. I finally decide, in the absence of anything else and not really wanting to go all the way back through the Elite Four, I equip the Citrus Berry. In this game, it gives us an extra 30 hit points. It's not a lot, but it might actually keep us in the fight just long enough. And finally, I get a decent run. We're in a speed tie with the Pidgeot apparently, but we get to go first, and we get a critical hit with Shockwave for a one-shot. There we go, that's exactly what we needed. Next out is Gyarados, who despite being quad weak to Shockwave is actually still in a damage range, but fortunately the range falls on our side this time and we're able to one-shot it. Venusaur is next, and we hit hard with Psybeam. It sets up growth and heals with a berry, and our next Psybeam is also a damage range and doesn't quite bring it down. But it just goes for a Solar Beam setup, which allows us to knock it out. Arcanine is next, and this is probably the hardest one here. We don't do a lot of damage with Psybeam, and it can hit pretty hard with Flamethrower. We fortunately dodge a burn as we eat our berry and bring it down in several more Psybeams. Next out is the Alakazam, and despite the 2 Intimidates, we bring it down with Shadow Ball. This is also on the very extreme end of a damage range, as we weren't always able to one-shot it here. Last out is Rhydon, and we hit reasonably hard with Psybeam. It misses Earthquake thanks to Levitate, and another Psybeam brings it down. And boom, there we go. We just beat Pokemon Fire Red with just a Misdreavus. Another spooky rundown. Hope you all enjoyed. I know I actually could have used Psychic there, but I actually just completely forgot, and we just ran with Psybeam. Next week, I'll be doing another spooky October run, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Be sure to check out the Bard Breaker Discord server too if you haven't already, and leave a suggestion either there or down in the comments below, and let me know what you'd like to see me do. I think I have a good plan for the spooky runs for this month, but feel free to leave your suggestions, and maybe you'll get me to change my mind. In any event, guys, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. And until next video, good luck and go catch 'em all.